Hello all of you. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in today's video we are going to discuss about some SQL questions for freshers. So SQL interview questions which may be asked in your interviews. Those questions we are going to discuss. So let's start with the question number 1. So what is SQL? So SQL is structured query language, which is a programming language for storing and processing the information in a relational database. Then a relational database stores the information in a tabular form, so with rows and columns, with representing different data attributes and various relationship between the data values. Next question, what is table in database? So table are database objects that contain all data in the database. In tables, data is logically organized in a row and column format similar to the spreadsheets. Then each row represents a unique record and each column represents a field in the record. Next, what are the different type of SQL or different commands in the SQL? So first is DDL. So DDL stands for data definition language, which is used to define the structure that holds data. Then the commands included in DDL are create, alter, drop and truncate. Second, we have DML. So DML stands for data manipulation language. Then DML is used for manipulation of the data itself. Typical operations like insert, delete, update, and retrieving the data from the table is done in this DML command. Then next we have DCL. So DCL stands for data control language. Then in DCL, this is used to control the visibility of the data, like granting database access and set privileges to the create table. Next, DCL includes commands such as grant and revoke, which mainly deal with rights, permissions, and other controls in the database system. Next, we have TCL. So TCL stands for transaction control language. So TCL commands are used for maintaining the consistency of the database and for management of the transactions made by the DML, that is data manipulation language. Then TCL commands are commit, rollback and save point. Next command we have, or next language we have, DRL. So DRL stands for data retrieval language. So this will be used for retrieval of the data from the database. So in order to see the data present in the database, we will use DRL statement. So we have only one DRL statement, that is select. So like for example, we can say if I want to view all data from EMP table, then I will write select star from EMP. So likewise, we can fetch data in this DRL. Next, we have what is difference between having and where clause. So this question is very important. So this question might ask in your interviews. So this is a frequently asked question. So having is used to specify the condition for a group or aggregate function, which is used in the select statement. Then the where clause selects before grouping. Then having clause selects rows after grouping. And last, unlike having clause, where clause cannot contain aggregate function. So this is the difference, basic difference between having and where clause. Next question we have very important question. What is the difference between delete and truncate commands? So again, this is a favorite question of the interviewer. So again, this question might be repeated in your interviews. So delete. So delete command is used to delete a specific row or one or more rows, while a truncate command is used to delete all the rows from the table. Then delete command is DML command or DML language, that is data manipulation language. Then while truncate is data definition language. Then delete. So there may be a where clause in the delete command in order to filter the records. Then in truncate, there may not be where clause in the truncate command. And in delete command, the tuple is locked before removing it. While in this command, that is truncate, the data page is locked before removing the table data. Then delete command is slower than the truncate command as it is going to delete rows one by one, while a truncate command is faster than the delete command as truncate will delete all the records hold records from the table. To use delete, you need to use delete. You need delete permissions on the table. To use truncate on the table, we need at least alter permissions on the table. Next, the identity of fewer column retains the identity after using delete statement on the table. Identity of the column is reset to its seed value of the table contains on the identity of the column. Then the delete can be used with indexed views. The truncate cannot be used with indexed views. Next, the delete statement occupies more transaction space than truncate. Truncate statement occupies less transaction space than delete. Then delete operations can be rolled back. Truncate cannot be rolled back as it causes an implicit commit. Then drop doesn't delete doesn't drop the whole table. It acquires lock on table and starts deleting the rows. Truncate first drops the table and then recreate it with which is faster than the deleting individual rows. Next, what are the properties of the transaction? So these are the properties like they are represented as acid properties. So A stands for atomicity, C stands for consistency, I stands for isolation, and D stands for durability. First, so atomicity. So what is this atomicity? Again, this question is very important from interview point of view. Again, this question might be repeated in your interview. So atomicity means the term atomicity defines that data remains atomic. It means if any operation performed on the data, either it should be performed or executed completely or should not be executed at all. It further means that operations should not break in between or execute partially. In case of executing operations on transaction, the operation should be completely executed and not partially. So let's take an example of the bank. So if you are transferring the amount, so this transaction is a best example for the automation. So during the transmission of the amount, it either it will be transmitted full amount or it will not transfer the amount. So next we have that is consistency. So consistency, the word consistency means that the value should remain preserved always. Then second, in DBMS, the integrity of the data should be maintained, which means if a change in the database is made, it should remain preserved always. In case of transactions, the integrity of the data is very essential so that the database remains consistent before and after the transaction. The data should always be correct. So next we have isolation. So the term isolation means separation. So in DBMS, isolation is a property of database where no data should affect the other one or and may occur concurrently. In short, the operation on one database should begin when the operation on the first database get complete. Then it means if two operations are being performed on the two different database, they may not affect the value of one another. In case of transactions, when two or more transactions occur simultaneously, the consistency should be maintained. Next, any change that occur in any particular transaction will not be seen by other transactions until the change is not committed in the memory. Next, last we have durability. So durability ensures that permanency of the something. So in DBA means the term durability ensures that the data after successful execution of operation becomes permanent in the database. The durability of the data should be so perfect even if the statement fails or leads to crash, the database will survive. Then, however, if get lost gets lost, it becomes the responsibility of the recovery manager for ensuring the durability of the database. Next, last point, for committing the values, the commit command must be used every time we make the changes. Next, we have what is the difference between primary key and unique key. Again, this question is very important from interview perspective. So again, this question is very favorite of the interview. This question might be repeated or number of times. So we can have only one primary key in the table, whereas we can have more than unique key in the table. The primary key cannot have null value, whereas unique key may have only one null value. By default, a primary key is a clustered index, whereas by default unique key is a non-unique non-cluster index. Then a primary key supports auto increment value, whereas unique key doesn't support auto increment value. So this is the basic difference between primary key and unique key. Next question we have, what is database normalization? So normalization is a process of organizing data in the database. So normalization is used to minimize the redundancy from the relation of set of relations. It is used to eliminate undesirable characteristics like insertion, update, and delete anomalies. Normalization divides a large table into smaller and links them using relationships. The normal form is used to reduce redundancy of from the database table. Next, what is join? So the SQL join is used to combine the data from one or two or more tables based on common field between them. So there are different types of join, like we have first inner join, then left outer join, right outer join, full outer join, cross join, and we have self join. So these are the different types of join. Next, what is view in SQL? So how to create a view? So very important question again. A view is a virtual table based on the result set of the SQL statement. A view contains rows and columns just like a real table. A field in a view are fields from one or more real tables in the database. We can create using create view syntax. So this is the syntax we can see. So create view, then view name as select column name from table name and where condition. So this is how you can create a view. So if there is a question on the interview for interview that about view, you can state information about view and you can write a syntax about the view, or you can tell simply the syntax about the view. Next question we have, what is trigger? So an SQL trigger is a database object that is associated with the table and automatically executes a set of SQL statements when a specific event occurs on the table. Triggers are used to enforce business rules, maintains data integrity, and automate certain actions within a database. Trigger is a code that is that associated with insert, update, delete operations. Next question we have, what is a stored procedure? Again, this question is very important. Again, this is repeated for number of times for any interview, for any development interview. So again, a stored procedure is a prepared SQL code that you can save so that the code can be reused over and over again. So if you have an SQL query that you write again and again, save it as a stored procedure and then just call it to execute it. Then you can also pass parameters to the store procedures so that the stored procedures can act based on the parameters value that is passed. Next, what is composite key? So composite key is a combination of two or more columns in a table that can be used to uniquely identify each row in a table. When columns are combined, uniqueness is guaranteed. But when it is taken individually, it does not guarantee the uniqueness. Sometimes more than one attributes are needed to uniquely identify an entity. So a primary key that is made by combination of more than one attribute is known as composite key. Then what is transaction and what are the ACID properties? So database transaction is a set of database operations that must be treated as a whole. Means either all operations are executed or none of them are executed. For an example, you can take a bank transaction from one account to another account. So either both debit or credit operations must be executed or none of them. Then acid properties. So acid properties, we have A stands for atomicity, C stands for consistency, I stands for isolation, D stands for durability, which is a set of properties that guarantee that the database transactions are processed reliably. Next question we have, what are the indexes? So the indexes are used to retrieve data from the database more quickly than the others. The users cannot see the indexes, they just need to speed up the searches or queries. Data can be stored only in one order on the disk. The indexes need the extra space on the disk, but they allow faster search according to the different frequently search values. The drawback of using indexes is they slow down the execution time of update and insert statements. But they have one advantage also, as they speed up the execution time of select and wait statement. The next question we have, what are primary and foreign keys? So primary keys are the unique identifiers of each row. They must contain unique values and cannot be null. Due to their importance in the relational databases, primary keys are the most fundamental aspects of all keys and constraints. A table can have only one primary key. Then a foreign key. A foreign key constraint is used to prevent action that would destroy the links between the tables. So foreign key is a field or collection of the fields in one table that refers to the primary key in the another table. Then a table with foreign key is called as child table, and table with primary key is called as reference or parent table. Next question, question number 17 we have, what is field in database? A database field refers to a set of values arranged in a table and has same data type. A field is also known as column or attribute. A field is an area within the record reserved for specific piece of data. Then, for examples, we have employee name, employee ID, etc. And next question we have, what is record in the database? So records in the database or spreadsheets are usually called rows. Record is a collection of fields, possibly of different data types, typically in the fixed number and sequence. A record is a collection of values, fields of the specific entity, that is employee, salary, etc. Next question we have, what are the different type of normalization? So in database design, we start with one single table with all possible columns. Lot of redundant data would be present since it's a single table. The process of removing the redundant data by splitting up table in the well defined fashion is normalization. Then, so there are different types of normalization. So we have first normal form, that is in short we can say 1NF. A relation is said to be first normal form if and only if all underlying domains contain atomic values only. So after 1NF we can still have redundant data. So again it is not fully occupied. Second, so second normal form. A relation is said to be in 2NF if and only if it is 1NF and every non-key attribute is fully dependent on the primary key. After 2NF, we can still have redundant data. Then we have third normal form, that is 3NF. A relation is said to be 3NF if and only if it is in 2NF and every non-key attribute is non-transitively dependent on the primary key. The next fourth we have Boy's code normal form, BCNF. So the BCNF is stricter form of 3NF that ensures that each determinant in the table is a candidate key. In other words, BCNF ensures that each non-key attribute is dependent only on the candidate key. Next, we have fourth, that is fourth normal form 4NF. So 4NF is further refinement of PCNF that ensures that a table does not contain any multi-valued dependencies. Then fifth normal form, that is phi NF. So phi NF is the highest level of normalization and involves decomposition a table into smaller tables to remove data redundancy and improve data integrity. And next question we have, what is unique key? So unique key is same as primary key with difference being existence of null. Unique key field allows one value as null value. So these are the some questions which might come in your interview questions. So these are the top 20 questions which might ask in your any interview questions, like if you are attending an interview on software developer, you may be attending interview for full stack developer, or you may be attending for the database developer. So these questions may be expected in your interviews. So that's all for today's video. So we'll meet in the next video. So please do subscribe my channel and press the bell icon. So thank you all of you and have a wonderful day.